my mother's passing was sudden. She had a stroke and a heart attack in the car while she was with my brother, my younger brother. Now,
something said to stay, but I thought she was going to be okay. Something said, don't go tonight, stay tonight. And I left. And I'm going there with something because it's the thing we hold on, the guilt that we hold on to.
Right? So I was in a low place. I was a young man. I didn't have anybody. So I want to share with people and say, if that is you, if you're dealing with guilt, first off, understand that King, and I just want to welcome everyone to this podcast. This is a place where you can come to get inspired, and we give practical tips on how to thrive during life's toughest challenges, because life is worth it and so are you. And so we want to invite everybody to engage with us. Follow us on all the social media channels at WAHBL Podcast. That's WAHBL Podcast. And you can follow us on social media channels. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Y'all know how to do it. So I'm with my co-host again, my guest, Miss Monique LaRue. Okay.
Hey, everybody. Woo! Good to be here.
Monique, how have you been?
Listen, this week has been something else. So
okay. Has it been good though?
Yes, it's been great.
All
actually.
right. I like your glasses.
I'm embracing it.
Last week you were, had the contacts working. Okay.
Yeah, I got the glasses.
Okay, gotta see. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay.
Real good.
How many fingers?
5.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can see that well.
Okay. Good deal. So I want to encourage everybody to engage with us. Here we have a live audience, and so they have the ability to engage with us by simply scanning a QR code and asking questions. At the end of this episode, I will answer questions. I will answer at least one question, and so the others we will answer via social media channels. But I want to take the time to actually thank our sponsor for this show, JMH Consulting. JMH Consulting, they help people accomplish their dreams while looking their best doing it. JMH Consulting has helped me for my style and helped me feel comfortable and just feel comfortable in being me. And so if you've never had a stylist or a consultant and you're looking to achieve your dreams and looking good doing it, JMH Consulting is the place to go. And so you can just go to jonathanmhall.com, jonathanmhall.com, find out more information. We want to thank our sponsor, JMH Consulting. All right. Now, Monique, today's episode is about turning your worst days into better days. Turning your worst days into better days. If you've not checked out our first episode from last week, definitely go out, check that out. We talked about a few things. I know what one of my worst days was, right? And this may be an emotional episode, right? So one of my worst days, and you asked me in the last time we were together, what was one of those times? And it was when my mother passed away. And that was almost 30 years ago. Almost 30 years ago. I know I don't look like I'm 30, but, it was almost 30 years ago. And that was one of the most pivotal points in my life. It was one of my worst days ever. But now that I look back at it, people may think I'm being a little weird or off, but it's probably one of the best times of my life. And so we'll talk about that, but you're going to also share with us one of your worst moments, and it wasn't 30 years ago, it was more recent, right?
Yeah, it was. It was November 15th, 2023. My mother transitioned, and though I don't think that was the worst day, because I had been in a long goodbye type of situation. So basically, I was having worse years every year, right? But I will say the moment that I realized that my mother was going to change, and she wasn't the same person. When she started forgetting me was probably when I really understood that I was going to lose her fully.
Now,
Right.
for those that don't know, help us understand what exactly took place.
So, my mom was semi-diagnosed, right? We didn't have any money to go to the doctor to really diagnose with early onset dementia. And about 10 years ago, I started just noticing her doing things around the house, buying things, paying the mortgage twice, just real interesting stuff. And then I realized, like, okay, Mom, we gotta do some things. We gotta check some things out. So once I got the word, there wasn't any help going on here. Once I got the word from the doctor that it was that, then I realized, like, okay, I'm dealing with something very different here. And I think that moment was the worst. And then I had other moments, but that moment, just knowing that it was happening, was probably that was pretty intense.
Wow. And so the reason why we're talking about this is because when there are several times in people's lives when we say all hell is breaking loose.
Yeah.
And it's typically when we're dealing with counseling, there are several categories of issues that we see people have. It's either health, wealth, or relationships, right? And health, it can be the health of a loved one, losing someone, but losing a loved one is really impactful for a lot of people. And a lot of times we don't understand how to really deal with that. And so help me understand how you started going through. You said that it was a slow process. It was a longer process because of the diagnosis.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate through that while still trying to show up for your mother in the time of need?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So, once I realized that this is what was happening, I just had to go into a place of prayer and just like, okay, God, there's no playbook for this. I have no idea what I'm doing. How am I going to do this? And I was doing it on my own. I thought I was going to get some help. I won't go into that because she might be looking at this. But anyway, I won't go into that. But, once I realized that I was going to have to fully just be present for my mother in a lot of ways, I just went into prayer and then just asking God to really show me how do you want me to deal with this? Like, how do you want me to maintain my own sanity as I'm going through year after year after year, and I'm losing her year after year after year? And so I one day just I guess it was just spirit was just like, you need to enjoy her for every single glimpse of her presence being with you. So I want you to forget everything else, all of the things that you're going to have to do, and enjoy every moment. So we just started. I started taping her, videotaping her. We started going places. We would dance. I would play old records. We'd be in the house because she loved music, right? So we'd be in the house and I'd put on some old records and she'd just dance and dance and dance. And I loved that. And so as the years went on and she forgot a little bit more because she would get really upset because she couldn't remember my birthday. And I would tell her, I would say, Mom, yesterday was my birthday. And she was like, she got so upset. So I stopped telling her when my birthday was. So certain things you do, you start learning how to, not do. Sometimes you have to lie to them, especially when they're in this space. You have to tell the stories to make them feel better. This is about them at this point, right? So, and their experience. So you have to just totally surrender and just be like, this is not about me. This is about her having the best quality of life she can possibly have. And I wanted to be there for that. So I had photo shoots done on her 75th birthday. I just loved on her. And all the time she was repeating my sister's name. Have you talked to Cindy? Have you talked to Cindy? Have you talked to Cindy? I was like 500 times. I was like, Mom, yes, I've talked to Cindy. Even though I hadn't talked to Cindy. But yes, I've talked to Cindy. You know what I'm saying? And so I even got a t-shirt that said, have you talked to Cindy? Because Lord help me, she was asking me, have I talked to Cindy like 500 times?
Wow.
But here, and the reason why I'm sharing that piece is because Cindy wasn't there. Okay? It was me. But she kept asking for my oldest sister. And I understood that they had a bond and a thing that was very, very different and unique. And I had to get to the place where I embraced that. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if she's here or not. It's my mom's child. Whenever she asks for her, you get on the phone, you do the thing. So those are the things you do. You have to give up something in this time to really just, make sure that you have the leg up or you get through it. So
what I hear you saying is you knew that it wasn't about you.
No.
And you were able to still find joy while making it about someone else. And a lot of times we make everything about us. It's just about us. And we get frustrated when we don't have it, when it's not about us.
Yeah.
And so you recognize that and it allowed you to show up in those moments and appreciate the moments, but still find joy serving someone else. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sometimes like when you're going through something, it's oftentimes good to think of other people or start doing things for other people. So in your time of need or whatever, maybe you go serve somebody else in their need and it helps you just kind of not think about yourself so much. And so,
You jumped and gave one of the tips already. Thank you, because that is a true key to really thriving in your times of chaos, right? It's like, take the attention off of you, right? And focus on go serve somebody else, right? Because my mother used to always say, look, I don't care how bad we got it, there's always somebody that got it worse off than you.
Yes.
And so, I ain't gonna lie, I used to try and look for that person. But I'm like, who is it? Is it you?
Who is it? Right.
It's like, man, your feet stink. I bet it's you, But and I did find I found a family, man. I was like, Mama, I think I found them.
Yeah.
They was riding in a truck with no car seats. They had, lawn chairs and everything.
Wow.
No lie. And I was like, man, it's his family. He's worse off.
Yes.
But but thank you for sharing that, because your experience and my experience was different.
Yeah.
Yours was over time.
Yeah.
Mine was sudden. I was in school away and I just got a call. And it was a long time ago, but it still affects me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I'm going to share some things in this episode that I still hadn't shared. And y'all have me drink wine and just talking, telling my business.
That's good.
But let me drink some more.
We want all the tea.
Oh, Lord. Okay. So,
just so you know.
My mother's passing was sudden. She had a stroke and a heart attack in the car while she was with my younger brother. Now, the thing that really took me by storm was shortly before that, my mother and I had an argument. And I never made it back home. So I never saw my mother.
Oh, Jesus.
Right? And I had to deal with that. I had to wrestle with it. The last thing that the last experience that I had was arguing with my mother. Yeah. And I cannot remember what we argued about. Yeah. I was feeling myself, I'm sure, but having to wrestle with that and never seeing her again. People tell you, they ask you, what if you never see this person again? I'm that person that experienced that. Yeah. Right? And I couldn't say goodbye. Right? And even now it chokes me up. Yeah. So with that, it's like, how do you wrestle? And so that was part of it. And then also, there was a huge weight on my shoulders because I'm the middle child of 3 boys. And so, I was also the runt. So I was that forgotten child. They was like, oh man, your older brother, he's 6 foot forever. And, I know he played basketball. My younger brother is just big for no reason. So I know he played football. And so they would look at me and be like, Miss King, I didn't know you had 3 boys. And so I was that forgotten child, but I was the strongest. So when she passed away, my brother said, hey, we know this hurts, but don't let us see you cry. Because if we see you cry, we think all hell is broken loose or there's no hope. Yeah. So wrestling with that as a young man, but then realizing that, dang, I ain't gonna see my mama again.
Yeah.
And the last thing I spoke was words of irritation, aggravation, right? So for me, all hell was breaking loose. And so I had to come to grips with that and figure out, like, God, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
I was blaming God. I was upset and myself. So did you ever go through moments where you're like, God, I didn't ask for this. Why me, Lord? What you doing? I thought you loved me.
Yeah.
You know, let's just be real. I went through those moments.
No, I listen, that's, I won't say it's my life, okay? But there have been many times that's been the case. You talk about, not saying goodbye to your mom, even though I had a long goodbye with mom on the night that she died. I went to see her. She was in a nursing facility at this time. And something said to stay, but I thought she was going to be okay. Something said, don't go tonight, stay tonight. And I left. And I'm going there with something because it's the thing we hold on, the guilt that we hold on to. And so I left thinking I was coming back in the morning and, I was going to sit with mom. I knew she was in transition because she was going through the phases. But for some reason, I felt like I had that night, and I went home and I slept and all of that. And I got in that car that morning, and before I could even make it to her, I got the call, from hospice saying she's gone. And every day since that, all I keep thinking about is the night that I walked out and I left her when something said, stay. And then I had to hear a friend of mine say, Monique, you never leave. You got it when they going through, you want to stay with them, and I was like, I didn't stay. So all of that to say that guilt, even in this moment, I still feel like as much as I did for the 10 years I was with her, all the loving things that I did, that one thing I didn't stay is the thing that keeps me like, you didn't do enough because you didn't stay that night on that last. And that, we've got to figure out what the thing is to help us come out of that place, because that's a place where we can sit in, just like you've been dealing with that for 30 years. I don't know, maybe you've changed and that thing has changed over time. But for me, it's been so recent. I wake up sometimes, I'm in dreams like, why didn't I stay? Forget all the 10 years I've been there doing all the great things, being there, paying all the money that I didn't have to pay for all this care. And I just think about that one night. So it's some work. I may have to get a therapist. I may have to see somebody to help me through that part. And I think it's okay for us to seek that kind of help so that we can get past that thing, So yes. So that's just one thing. But that's been a big thing on my heart right now, because I'm still really grappling with why I didn't stay.
Yeah. So one of the things I want people to know is how to deal with that, because sometimes we may be facing that guilt, right? And I know I faced it, but I had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so with dealing with that, and I'll just share that at first it took a while, and somebody may be dealing with guilt right now, and that will break you.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't know how to deal with it at first. And honestly, I had suicidal thoughts. I took pills. I even prayed to God to take me, right? So I was in a low place. I was a young man. I didn't have anybody. So I want to share with people and say, if that is you, if you're dealing with guilt, first off, understand that you are not the cause of it, right? This has nothing to do with you. You're not the cause of it. The other thing is you have to get help. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. You have to raise your hand, the white flag, and say, look, I need help. I'm feeling this. Because the guilt is meant to take you out. That's the purpose of it. It's meant to take you out. And it almost took me out and at the time I had, a circle of older men from my fraternity that came alongside of me.
Yeah.
And, that's who helped me out of that pit because I tried killing myself because of guilt.
Yeah.
And think about this though. It's meant to take you out. Had guilt taken you out, if it had taken me out, we wouldn't be in this moment. Right? Think of all the people. And that's why I say that was the worst moment of my life, but it was one of the best moments of my life because God showed me purpose in that moment.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad that you shared that too, because in me dealing with or, having that guilt about mom passing, immediately after that though, I started thinking about, friends that I know who they don't glorify their parents dying, but they definitely always at that point in time after their passing, they'll come back to it every year. Oh, it's 2 weeks before mom's death. It's, next month is the month that my mom passed or whatever. And I hear that story. So what I decided to do to deal with what I was feeling was to create something in honor of my mom on that day, on that week. Right? So that every year when that day comes, I'm more celebrating her as opposed to, thinking about, oh, I'm so sad, I'm already sad a month ahead of time because I have friends who deal with it in that way. I don't believe that's the best way. So I've started offering people to find the things that your loved one or whoever it is that passed loved to do. My mom loved to praise and dance. And so in my mind, because I'm a creative, I created something called the Praise Play. And the Praise Play really is a whole music event to raise money for family caregivers. Now, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I've already got a music director. I've already got people that are going to come and do this thing. And I wanted to do it this November. But, since I'm in my in-between, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not working full time or anything at the moment. So I don't have that income to do it. But Praise Play is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to help family caregivers and the people who really supported my mom during this time. So we need to look at things that way, right? So instead of, thinking about, oh gosh, mom died on the 15th of November, I'm like, we about to praise out, we about to rock this thing out during this time, and we're going to give as well. And so those are the kinds of things I want to tell people to focus on so much when you have this loss in your life. Think about the great things that you could probably do around that to help you not only, grieving is a long-term, you're gonna feel that loss from time to time, but to think something bigger and, honor them in that way so that you're celebrating that day as opposed to thinking about the
I appreciate that, but we're not just gonna gloss over that. Man, y'all give her a hand, man. We have a live audience here. That's amazing, right? And so I want to, congratulate you. And then the lesson in that is that you take that, and we're talking about turning your worst days into better days. Yeah. And you're taking that and you are taking her legacy on, the things that she really instilled in you, and saying, hey, we can use this to bless other people and bring people out of their struggles, and we can raise money for different causes. Some of us right now have missions and have projects that's embedded in us that we may be holding on to and just holding on to the guilt. It's like we memorialize the negative things and we return to it, and say, oh, woe is me. Now, I look back in scripture, and when they put a memorial out there, it was to memorialize where God had been, right? Where God showed up, right? So when we do that, let's not think about the bad and the negative, but hey, no, God showed up in this place. And you asked me, what were some of the things that I did to get out of those places? Well, I remember getting over them and overcoming. So I don't want to just skirt over what you just said. What you said was powerful, magnificent, and if y'all are listening to this, give us some money for the Praise Play, man. I mean, I'm just saying, man. Now, way my bank account is set up, I'll touch and agree with you, you know what I'm saying?
It's happening. It's
but
happening.
that's something that's powerful.
Yeah.
Take that and do something magnificent with it
Yeah.
and touch other lives.
Yeah, I've got a lot going on. I was telling you at one point some weeks ago that, I'm not even going to tell you all the stuff that's on the inside of me. I was, sharing that, people have said to me, Monique, you're sitting on millions, right? And I couldn't really receive that when it was said to me because I was younger, and I was like, I just couldn't feel myself with millions. So I didn't know how to embrace what was being said. And time again, everybody says, Monique, you sitting on millions. If you create another thing, I've had my attorney tell me, I'll just share this little piece. My attorney said to me, she said, Monique, you see Sarah Blakely? This was when she first got started with Spanx.
Mm-hmm.
She said, what you've got right now, you can way surpass what's happening there. Now, those are things that people are telling me, but I can't embrace it because I didn't see it. So all that to say, it's time.
Yeah.
And I think with my mom transitioning, I was sharing this earlier, I was, anyway, in my mind, she's saying go.
Yeah.
She said, you can go now. Like, you've been sitting back, you've been taking care of me for the last 10 years. You've had relationships that was crazy and jacked up. You've been dealing with that. It's go time. So I have nothing to hold me back right now. There's nothing holding me back. And I want people to know that in their chaos, in their hell, there's always the other side of that, right? And to just figure out how to find it in the midst of it, right?
No, that's important that you said that, because I talk about that time being a time where I understood purpose. And I'll never forget, I was praying to God to take me from this earth. And it went from a prayer to a dare. It's like, God, if you really who you say you are, you will take me tonight. Now, be careful. All right. So I'll never forget this, but I was in college, and I don't know what they call it, but there was some night that I ended up having an experience with God. And I know it was an experience with God because it's almost like I could see everything in the room. I had my roommate, he was working on a paper, and I was supposed to be, I could see all of this.
Yeah.
And it gets kind of, little eerie a little bit, but in that moment, God, he showed me thousands upon thousands of people, seas of people, white, black, brown, just all kinds of nationalities, all kinds of cultures. And in that, he said, these are all the people that you're going to touch. And he gave me a choice on whether or not I wanted to go. And people think that you instantly think about your family members and things like, but no, I didn't. I thought about disappointing God. And I said, I want to see this through.
Yeah.
I want to see my purpose develop, even as a young man. And I knew that at that moment, God had birthed in me something so great that I didn't know when it would come to fruition, but it was so great that it would impact thousands upon thousands of lives. Yeah. And it was that moment, because me, although I had an argument with my mom, I was like, mama's boy, right? I was like, mama said this, mama said that. And, everything was about what mama said, right? But I would not have become the man that I am today had I still been relying on mama. And so God showed me, he said, I'm going to leverage this. I'm going to use this to shape and mold you to impact thousands upon thousands. And then those thousands will impact thousands upon thousands. So it's like I got propelled and catapulted into purpose through that moment. Now, it's really hard to see this when you're going through. Yeah. And so when people say it'll be okay, you'll be all right, that's the last thing you want to hear. Right? So help me understand, even how can we show up for others that's experiencing this?
I would say just be present. I think a lot of people are going through all the time. I recently did a talk for Emory University called How to Make the Most of Your In-Between Times, in between careers. And even, today I was approached by the Emory folks to talk to somebody who was going through their in-between time. And she was like, Monique, your talk resonated so much with the folks who came to listen at Emory that, we just have never really had a talk like this before. But can you talk to this particular woman who just got laid off from her job? Would you do that for me? I'm going to send her your talk, and then I'm going to connect you on LinkedIn. And sometimes you just have to say, like, okay, you just have to be there for people. You have to be present. You have to be open and willing to give in those moments, because for some reason, they're drawn to you. And so I said yes. I said, go ahead, send me her name, information, and I'll talk to her, I do this every weekend. I open up myself to younger people to come and have conversations, at the lunchroom table. And we talk about work and all of the wonderful things. And so you just have to make yourself available to people. So I would say that.
Good. Thank you. No, that's helpful, because sometimes I struggle with, what do I say? Right? And they expect you to have all the words as, pastor and everything. And sometimes we are at a loss for words. Yeah. Sometimes we're looking at the situation and we just say, my heart cries out for you in this moment. And sometimes that's real. Yeah. And I found that sometimes just being real like that has helped. It's like, hey, I sympathize, I empathize with you. Some people don't know or may not have even experienced what you're going through. Yeah. So to say, I know what you're going through, please don't say that. No, you don't. Right? So I struggle sometimes in those moments, but sometimes people just need to know that you're there. Yeah. Right? I'm a phone call away. And in those moments, show up. I mean, I know there have been times where I have really been apologetic and had to really ask for forgiveness from people where I was like, hey, I said I would be there and you called and I wasn't there. Yeah. Right? I didn't pick up. I'm sorry. Yeah. Right? But being present is really important.
And available,
because,
and available. Oftentimes people are going through things that may just be more dire than what you think. And so it may be an inconvenience at times. But it's really helped me, a lot, just being there for other people and being able to listen, that's been helpful in my time, in my in-between, in my chaos or whatever, to know that other people are experiencing similar things. And sometimes they don't want you to say much. They just want you to be there.
Right.
There's been a lot of times I just wanted to be held. You don't got to say nothing. I just want you to hold me. I just want to know that somebody's there to just hold me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So
I'll give you a air hug. All right, there we go. All right.
Appreciate it.
No, I want to thank you, Monique. This has been and I try to lighten the mood because this has been a tough topic. Yeah. Right? There have been times where I've seen you get choked up, and I know I got choked up while mentioning these things, because there are things that I've shared tonight that I have never told people. And so, or I've just told a few people, my brothers or something, right? And so I want to, one, thank you for allowing me this space to be vulnerable with you, but also thank you for doing the same with me. And so as we wrap up, I want to give some quick tips on what we shared today, right? Number one, understanding that it is not your fault. Guilt is meant to take you out, but you know what? God can use that to build you up. Yeah. It is not your fault. Let's not continue to feel guilty, but this can be a moment of opportunity. But first you have to surround yourself, and you'll constantly hear this from me, surround yourself with people that are available and will be present. Yeah. And also get help. I can't stand when people say, I don't want to get help. People will think I'm crazy. Yeah. You're crazy not to get help.
Exactly.
My mother used to work in a mental institution, and they would be like, Miss King, aren't you afraid of them? She said, no, I'm more afraid of the people outside these doors. Yeah. Because these people are getting help. So please get help. Go talk to someone. And I can't wait to start allowing resources. If you need resources, if you're local to our area here in the Atlanta area, please, we will direct you to some resources, but you gotta get some help.
Get that help.
The other thing is to know that when you direct your attention to serve other people, it has a way of really filling you up with joy. Yeah. We're created to serve others. And the more you harbor that and the more you stay inside, the more you're susceptible to guilt, shame, depression, anxiety, and everything else. Take that energy and give to someone else. If you have an idea to create an organization, go do that. Yeah. This is an opportunity in the midst of your toughest time. Yeah. Take this opportunity, this challenge, and make it into an opportunity. Yeah. So first, definitely, the guilt is not yours to hold on to. Surround yourself with good people, get help, and move forward in the opportunity. Use this as an opportunity.
And I'd like to add one other thing to that, because I know it really kept my sanity. You know, because sometimes you could just be creative in moments. These moments you're just so creative during these times. In chaos, you will find yourself creating and just doing all kinds of wonderful things. So embrace whatever it is you're trying to create. Write the book, paint the picture, do those things, because I tell you, it was my saving grace during the pandemic while I was dealing with my mom. So yes, I'll add creative and just being creative and doing that work in the process.
Absolutely. Well, Monique, thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. That's the time that we have
today. I want to encourage everybody, follow us on all the social media channels, WAHBL Podcast, WAHBL Podcast. That's When All Hell Breaks Loose Podcast. Again, thank you so much. People that are here live, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. I want to thank y'all. We love y'all. I want to thank our partners here at Sulit here in Alpharetta, Georgia. It is my favorite spot. They have been so gracious to us. Coffee, wine bar. I live here. If you're in the area, you gotta come and check it out. Great food. I have the coffee, I have the water, I have the wine, and I have the food. So I want to thank them as well. So again, the When All Hell Breaks Loose podcast. I'm Chris King. Follow us on all the social media channels and like, subscribe, do all that good stuff.